instructions and those big vitamins that are this big, right? Those prenatal vitamins and all this stuff. And, okay, this is what you need to do. You know, you're going to have a baby, so you need to do this, this, this. And you don't do this, this, this. Y'all remember those? Just say yes. Okay? All right, you did. So, he said, it is true. You are unable to conceive, but you're going to have a son. Now, listen, this is the instructions. And basically got these instructions from Numbers chapter 6, verses 2 through 5 and 8. And this is talking about a Nazirite. A Nazirite is somebody who separated themselves unto the Lord. And he said, your son is going to be a Nazirite. And here are the instructions. Basically, be careful. You don't drink wine. You don't drink any alcoholic beverage. You don't eat anything unclean. Indeed, you will conceive and give birth. You must never cut his hair, because he will be a Nazirite, and he will begin to save Israel from the power of the Philistines. Those are your prenatal instructions. Because your son's going to be a Nazirite, here's what you need to follow. And so she listened, and here we go. Now, a Nazirite usually would take these vows voluntarily. But from birth, pre-birth, Samson is going to be Nazirite. So here we go. Manoah's wife, Zelephath, she said, okay, got it. And so then the woman went and told her husband. A man of God came to me, and she spelled it out. He was awe-inspiring, and here's what he told me. Boom, 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 boom. She gave, here's the prenatal instructions. Now you can imagine, Manoah wasn't there. You know, can you imagine coming up to your husband and saying, guess what? I saw an angel today. And this is what the angel told me. What would your husband's reaction be? Where you been? What you been drinking? Huh? What? Now think about that. But she went and immediately told her husband. He said, this is what occurred. Here's the instruction. I mean, she gave it back. So, what happened? Manoah, now, you know, God esteems women. God, the angel came. Dire consequences that God esteems women. He came to Manoah's wife and told her all these things. Now, you notice in the ministry of Jesus Christ, he esteemed women. He basically built women up. Because women were looked at as low, almost lower than a dog in that culture. But Jesus built women up, and he had many women followers who helped him. And so, you have a faith-filled response. Now Manoah, he listened to his wife, and he said he prayed to the Lord and said, please, Lord, let the man of God you sent come again to us and teach us what we should do for the boy who will be born. Now, some people say, well, that's just great. You just wanted to have it repeated. Now, some rabbis think basically the Midrash says Manoah was saying, until now I heard from my wife, but you know, women are not qualified to teach, and I do not rely on what they say, so let your words come to me. There you go. There's that cultural thing. We didn't think a whole lot about women. So, basically, Manoah prayed that, and what happened? In the next verse, you see that God listened to Manoah. He came again, but who did he come to the second time? Manoah's wife again. He didn't come to Manoah directly. He came to his wife again. And he said, okay. And she's sitting there, and she ran off. She said, guess who's here again? This is the same day. Guess what? Guess who's here? Came to me again. Came to me again. And she's probably thinking, why didn't he come to you? She didn't say that out loud, but I bet you she's thinking it. How many of y'all wives think things you never say? How many of you men think things you never say? How many of you make the mistake of saying it? Alright, so here we go. So, she told him, so Manoah got up, followed his wife, and here we go. He says, oh man, are you the guy that came to my wife earlier? Yes, I am. He says, okay. And here's the faith. At least Manoah had this faith. When your words come true, what will the boy's responsibilities and missions be? When they come true. Not if, or perhaps, or is this really right? When your words come true. And basically, he gave him the instructions again. And then Manoah said, okay, all right, we got it. And now he shifts into the hospitality mode. When we prepare a meal for you, a goat, and some grain and something like this. How many of y'all would love to have somebody come on over? I'm cooking goats today. How many of y'all would run to their house and say, yeah, I'm in line? Really? How many of y'all like goats? Goat is good. Really? Y'all, yeah, right, preacher. What are you saying? It's good. Believe me, I've eaten my share of goat. It's good. And so, he says, fix the goat, fix grain, here we go. And the angel of the Lord, remember we were saying this to Jesus. He said, I'm not going to eat it, but why don't you offer that as a burnt offering to the Lord? Okay. Manoah said, fine. So he says, as he's fixing it, he said, by the way, what's your name so that we may honor you when your words come true? So we can honor you. And basically, the angel of the Lord, my name is wonderful. I can't really tell you that. Who else did he say that to historically? Who was the guy wrestling God at the river? Who? Jacob, wrestling. He said, who's your name? He didn't tell him his name. But Jacob figured it out. It was God. And then Jacob, oh man, this is tough. So he took the goat, grain offering, fixed it all up, offered it on an altar as a burnt offering. And so, fire's up, offering's burning, and what happens? The angel of the Lord goes up into heaven in the fire. And can you imagine? It just goes right up with it. And they're just going, man, what's going on? And then they realize, whoa, y'all done that before, right? You realize something, you get that moment, oh yeah. Well, they got that moment. This is an angel of the Lord. And, they said, man, we see that every day. Is that what they said? No! They said, Manoah. Now, husbands, how many times do y'all do this? You panic. How many of you panic? Or something happens. You get that bill in the mail. Where'd that come from? Who spent that money? Well, I didn't. Who spent that money? Who did this? Well, Manoah, he just had that reaction. He said, now remember, he had faith when these things come to pass. He said, we are going to die. That was his first words out of his mouth. We are going to die, because he realized we just saw God. It sounds like Indiana Jones when he gets into some of those things. We're going to die. And he said, that's the temple of doom. We are going to die. And so, but, Manoah's wife comes back with the words of reason. Probably Manoah is running around in circles. We're going to die, we're going to die, we're going to die. And she comes back and she says, look, if the Lord had intended to kill us, he wouldn't have accepted the burnt offering and the grain offering from us. And he would not have shown us all these things or spoken to us now like this. She's coming from the logical. Hey, get a grip, get a grip. If he was going to kill us, he'd already done it. Why would he waste his time? Why did he tell us all this stuff? So, just reason. Think about it. So wives, how many of y'all, you have to reason with your husband every so often? Say, calm down, right? You don't? Oh man, I'll tell you what. I'm just sitting there. So, God keeps his promises. Verse 24, what happens? She conceives and she bears a son. She has a son. She names him Samson. And he grew in the Lord, blessing him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to direct him and basically to show him what he needed to do. Now you think about this. It came true. And so Manoah and his wife, Zelophehad, had the responsibility of raising Samson. And he was actually the last judge of Israel. And he was going to take care of the Philistines. So, but the thing is, when you raise your kids and you raise them right, do they always do the things perfectly? No. They don't? No. What? Come on. You did it all right, and they don't do everything perfect. They don't follow right down the line. They don't do that. No. Okay. I'll take your word for it. Well, they experienced this too. Just a summary. Samson, you probably heard of him. In the next chapter, he sees a Philistine woman. I want her. Mom and Dad say, can't you find a nice girl over here? And our people, you don't know. I don't think that one's good for you. You ought to come over here. No, he says, I want her. So basically, parents didn't understand, but God was working in this. But they didn't understand it yet. And so, basically, then, how many of your kids keep secrets? You say, well, it ain't secrets if I know about it, right? But how many of your kids keep secrets? Or how many of your kids kept secrets? Yeah, I see all the kids laugh. And I see all the parents, boy, if my mom and daddy knew about that, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. But Samson, while they were making all these arrangements for this Philistine, a lion attacked him, but Samson killed it with his bare hands. I mean, he tore it apart. And then he came back several times later, and the carcass was there, and the bees had come in and built a hive in there, and they had honey. And so he took some of that honey and ate it and gave it to his parents. He didn't tell them where the honey came from. But remember, they said that you're not supposed to eat anything unclean. And that honey was unclean because it was touching a dead body. But Samson didn't tell them that. And so, basically, his dad went to the family to meet this woman to basically come to an agreement on a bride price. All right, how many of you guys paid a bride price for the woman you married? How many of you paid a bride price? I mean, you had to give something before you could marry. Some of y'all say I'm still putting that price. Or engagement ring, but this is actually to the parents. This is the bride price. And this is what they did. You had to pay because you were taking that woman out of that family, and she was part of that family, and she was productive and doing things. And so the bride prices, matter of fact, in Tanzania, they still do that. And I have another wife in Tanzania. And let me explain this. That a guy came and borrowed money from me to pay his bride price for his bride. And he never returned the money. So I thought about shaking him up one day and going and saying, I'm coming to get my wife. And see what he says. Because you didn't pay the money back. But father went, negotiated, all right, there we go. But it didn't work out. You can read it. Then Samson slept with a prostitute. Then he met Delilah. You know that story, right? Met Delilah. And basically Delilah, she wasn't good for him, but, he didn't look at it that way. So think about this. As a mom, Manoah's wife, Delilah, she did everything right. She heard the instructions, and she, brought her husband in. He heard the instructions. They followed the angel of the Lord's instructions. She remained faithful to the Lord. She did what she could. Remember, Jesus commended a woman in the New Testament. She just came, and Pam talked about it. She broke the alabaster jar of ointment and anointed him, basically, Jesus for burial. It was a prelude to that. And so he said she's done what she could do. And so that's what Manoah's wife did. But the problem is Samson chose his own way, and she experienced heartbreak. Samson's mother experienced heartbreak. Because he was going in a way, basically, it wasn't the path she chose for her son. And he was going in another path. But God still used her son. Because if you follow the story, Samson basically, when he met Delilah, Samson was fighting the Philistines. I mean, he would bring in all kinds of reasons. And so Delilah said, the people threatened Delilah's parents. And Delilah said, you got to find out how come he's so strong. And so got together and he said, if you bind me with brand new bowstrings, tie me up, that's it. You got me. Well, they did it, and Delilah, hey, the Philistines are here. Just broke them like nothing. And she goes, why did you tell me that? That wasn't right. So he said, all right. He says, tell you what, brand new ropes, tie me up, here you go. And so tied him up with new ropes. Delilah says, all right, come get him. Philistines are here. Snap. The brand new rope's gone. And he fights them off. And she starts crying again. Why you don't love me? And he said, all right, here you go. He said, you take my hair. He had a little bit of dreadlocks there. And he says, you put them in a weaver's beam. Weave them all together. And you put them in there, and I can't do a thing. And so she did it. Here they come. And he just tears that loom apart. And so she starts nagging. Any of y'all been nagged before? By your kids? Nag. Well, that's it. So he finally gave in and he said, I'm not supposed to cut my hair. Well, you know the rest of the story? He got a haircut. He got a buzz job. And that was it. The Philistines are here. Well, he couldn't do anything. He lost his strength. So they captured him, basically took his eyes out, made fun of him. And if you remember, God had a plan. He got Samson in with the Philistines. And they were having this big party in one of their temples. A bunch of people there. And they said, bring Samson, man. We ought to have a little entertainment. You know, we're going to laugh at him. So they brought him. Guy brought him. And Samson said, you know, help me to put my hands, you know, on the column so I can steady myself. I can't see, so, you know, I need to steady myself. And so, if you read the story, Samson had one last prayer. He said, God, please let me have victory over these enemies. And he started pushing. He started pushing this column, and it moved. And he started pushing this one, and it moved. And he started pushing this one a little bit more, and this one a little bit more. What happens when you push columns out? Main support columns?
Things fall down.
What?
Things fall down.
Things fall down, and that's what happened. This whole building fell down. 3,000 people died that day. More than he had killed in his whole lifetime to that point. He killed them. And so basically, now, these were tough circumstances for his mother, watching all of this stuff. But what does it Romans 8:28 say? What? That's right. God works out everything for the good to those who love him, to those who are called according to his purpose. And so it looked bad. Samson wasn't doing the right things all the time. But God used that to have a great victory over the Philistines. And so Manoah's wife, Zelophehad, she did leave an example of having faith in God. And basically, she believed she'd have a child. She followed the instructions. She did. She trusted. She obeyed. And the key is its obedience. Now, the thing is, when we have kids, maybe they're not turning out perfect, but we need to obey God and follow what he says to do. And it might not look like we want it to, but when we obey God, he will obey. Now, I've got some quotes about mothers. Good quotes, okay? Not bad quotes. So, Vernon Williams said, sooner or later, we all quote our mothers. Y'all do that? I sound just like my mother. And y'all said that before? Cheryl Lacey Donovan says, mother is a verb. It's something you do, not just who you are. Booker T. Washington, if I've done anything in my life worth attention, I feel sure I inherited the disposition from my mother. And he says, Henri de Balzac, the heart of a mother is a deep abyss at the bottom of which you will always find forgiveness. Tanetta Jordan says, a mother is a person who, seeing there are only 4 pieces of pie for 5 people, promptly announces she never did care for pie. Y'all done that before? Marion C. Garrett says, mother's love is the fuel that enables a normal human being to do the impossible. Edwin Chapin says, no language can express the power and beauty and heroism of a mother's love. And finally, why don't they have Mother's Day sales? Because mothers are priceless. Let's bow our heads, please. You heard Pam sing, broken and spilled out. That's what Jesus did for us. Mary had to watch Jesus die on the cross. Praise him. But he died because he loves us. There's a punishment for sin. We're all sinners. We all do things wrong. We're sinners. And there's a punishment for that. But Jesus said, I'm going to take that punishment. I'm going to step in for you and take the punishment. And that's why he died on the cross, to take the punishment for us. And he said that if you do that, I've done that for you. All you have to do is put your faith and trust in me. I will give you forgiveness because I took the punishment. And when we do that, he gives us salvation, saved. The word you probably heard. Saved from what? The punishment of sin. And he also gives us eternal life, which means that we put our faith and trust in him and him alone, Jesus Christ. And we'll get to spend, our eternal life starts here now when we do that. we'll make that transition from here to eternity, but we'll have that eternal life. And have you made that decision? Have you done that? Have you completely put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ and Him alone? If you have, why don't you just say thank you? If you haven't, you can do that. Basically, there's no magic words. There's no special thing you have to say. It's basically you're just coming to Jesus saying, I'm a sinner. I can't save myself. You've done it all for me. And I'm putting my faith and trust in you and you alone. And please forgive me and thank you for that forgiveness. I'm trusting you alone. And that does it for you. If you're doing that truly, not just saying words. Words alone don't say it because God sees your heart. I'm going to be standing by this table where these flowers are. This is the time our instrumentals are going to play. Just one verse. And if you'd like to come down and pray or talk to me or talk to me afterwards, whatever you'd like to do, pray where you are. This is your time to do what you need to do as you listen. Today. We're going to have breakfast at Max tomorrow at 8:30 if you'd like to join us for that. And men's ministry meeting tomorrow at Calvary Baptist Church. Got the box up here. I think this month they're talking about washcloths. I don't know what that is, right? Any of y'all use them? No? Okay. All right. Just run in and out from under the sprinkler, right? Let's get wet. All right, so moms, if you're a mom, would you stand, please? Now, I want each of you to give your testimony. Not really. Thank you, moms, for the jobs that you do. If you would come down front, please, after we're finished, and get a bag, and then we'll put cinnamon rolls and rolls in the bag, and you can take those home. Okay? Please come and get them, all right? We have plenty. So, Josh, if you would close us out, please, with prayer, sir.
Lord, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you so much for involving in this room, involving in our lives. Lord, that you would want to go out today and every day. Pray, Lord, that you be with us throughout this week. I ask this and everything that we do. In your precious name, I pray.
All right, now, moms.